Good evening, I'm Claudia Czerwińska and you're watching World News Tonight live from Warsaw. Something has happened to him. He's gone absolutely crazy, posted Donald Trump about Vladimir Putin in relation to a series of recent drone attacks waged against Ukraine. Against the backdrop of this major military assault, Kyiv's allies lifted restrictions on Ukraine's use of Western-supplied long-range weapons. We'll have more on that in just a moment, but first, let's take a look at tonight's headlines. Kyiv takes a hit for the third consecutive night of brutal Russian aerial attacks. Donald Trump praises a call with Ursula von der Leyen, delays U.S. tariffs on EU until June 9th. Monday sees Romania's new president, Nicușor Dan, sworn in. In a post on his Truth social media platform, U.S. President Donald Trump dubbed Russian leader Vladimir Putin crazy and questioned the motives behind Russia's continuous attacks on Ukraine's civilian population. Meanwhile, the U.S., the U.K., France and Germany have agreed that Ukraine will be able to use the long-range weapons they supplied without restrictions. Sonia Gatabiszczan has more on the latest developments and brings us this report.
Donald Trump did not hide his dissatisfaction with the progress on Ukraine peace talks, so much so that when airing his grievances on his social media platform Truth Social, he said Vladimir Putin has gone absolutely crazy.
I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all.
Trump's remarks follow his 2-hour phone call with Putin last week to discuss a ceasefire deal. In POTUS's view, the call had gone very well, but instead of being met with progress, it was followed by strikes, including the largest aerial attack on Ukraine.
I think what we're seeing is rather a wounded pride rather than a strategic realignment. It seems that Trump realized that Putin is testing his accommodating approach and responding with escalation.
In the same Truth Social post, however, Trump also did not show much grace to Volodymyr Zelensky, arguing that, quote, everything out of his mouth causes problems.
I am not sure what kind of rhetoric is expected from the president of a country which is being shelled every night almost. And in my opinion, this is not the official rhetoric that stands on the way of the peace deal or negotiations as such.
Numerous leaders to date, including Germany's Foreign Minister Johann Vadeful on Monday, blamed Russia for stalling the peace negotiations.
You can see that Putin doesn't want peace.
In turn, according to German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Western allies lifted Ukraine's restrictions on long-range weapons, broadening the military possibilities for Kyiv.
There are no longer any range restrictions on weapons supplied to Ukraine, neither by the British, nor by the French, nor by us, nor by the Americans. This means that Ukraine can now also defend itself, for example, by attacking military positions in Russia. It couldn't do that until a while ago.
It also, in my opinion, shows that there is deepening European resolve independent of Trump. It fits into Germany's broader Zeitenwende, shift towards a more proactive defense policy, but it remains to be seen whether this is going to be impactful.
Reportedly, Zelensky will visit Berlin on Wednesday to meet with the German Chancellor and President. A possible way forward to renewed technical negotiations between Ukraine and Russia is likely to be on the agenda, alongside discussions regarding military aid. For TVP World, I'm Sonia Gatabiszczan.
As I said a moment ago, the response issued by Donald Trump regarding Vladimir Putin did not come out of thin air. Monday brought another third consecutive day of brutal drone attacks on Ukraine by Russia, leaving 12 dead and 79 injured. For more updates on the attack, we now cross over to our Ukraine correspondent, Oz Kataji. Oz, good evening. So this is sadly a record-breaking drone attack on Ukraine, so vicious, so relentless. In fact, it sparked a response from the U.S. administration. So give us the latest on what happened overnight and on this third day of bombing.
Well, it's 3 consecutive days of attacks on Ukraine now from Russia. 12 dead were killed on Sunday, Sunday night's barrage. It's 6 dead Sunday to Monday night's barrage. But again, Russia has broken their record for largest airstrikes on Ukraine twice in the last 3 days. So a huge barrage sent on Sunday night, Monday morning. That was 355 drones and 9 cruise missiles. Now, the Ukrainian Air Force says they intercepted most of those and all of those missiles, but still 6 people dead, 24 injured. These attacks are continually destroying Ukraine's cities, destroying civilian homes, and killing Ukrainian civilians. There was another furious response from Ukraine's President Zelensky, released several statements throughout the day. He's published his nightly address a short moment ago. Let's take a quick listen to what he had to say about those attacks.
Russian attacks are becoming more brazen and large-scale every night. More than 900 attack drones launched against Ukraine in just 3 days, plus ballistic missiles, plus cruise missiles. There is no military logic to this. But it is a clear political choice. Putin's choice, Russia's choice, the choice to continue the war and to destroy lives.
So we're up to 27 dead in the last 3 days of these attacks. If anything, far from moving closer towards some kind of ceasefire, Vladimir Putin is very clearly escalating. That is the message being sent to Kyiv. They are escalating these attacks against Ukrainian cities. And their intention is that the Ukrainians will relent to Russia's demands. The Ukrainians have no intention of doing that, but what they are asking for is further support in the way of sanctions and further military support from the West, particularly from Washington. And there has been that reluctance from Donald Trump's White House to provide Ukraine with further military support. That policy is now being tested very strongly by Moscow, by Putin, with these brutal attacks on Ukraine civilians.
Well, Oz, considering what's happening on the ground, please do stay safe. That was Oz Kataji reporting live from Kyiv. U.S. President Donald Trump has agreed to delay 50% tariff measures on European goods. The news came following a phone call between the 47th President of the United States and EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen on Sunday. But the postponement does not mean that the transatlantic trade war is over. Our EU correspondent Angela Skujins has the latest from Brussels.
With the transatlantic relationship marred in controversy around tariffs, security, as well as support for Ukraine, we received a glimmer of hope on Sunday following an optimistic phone call between US President Donald Trump and EU Commissioner President Ursula von der Leyen. Now, following this call, we saw on social media that US President had decided to delay a 50% tariff expected to be implemented on the 1st of June, now delayed until the 8th of July. This represents a warming of relations between these two major superpowers. But what comes next for those interested in trade? We got an update from that European Commission spokesperson, Paula Pinho, at a press conference on Monday afternoon.
With this call, there's now also a new impetus for the negotiations, and we will take it from there. It's positive to see that there's engagement also at the level of the presidents. And from our side, we always said that we were ready to make a deal.
So there is hope that a deal may be negotiated by the 9th of July. This is the date when that 90-day tariff pause comes to an end. TVP World spoke exclusively to Tomasz Wławsowski about the impact of this phone call on these long-term negotiations.
There is a realization in Brussels that President Trump is really interested in sort of a short-term, quick win. So he's not interested in actually resolving any long-term, I think, disputes or long-term problems, regulatory problems that have been plaguing the relationship, because that requires time. I think the tensions and the underlying problem hasn't really disappeared. So we have an acceleration of talks, but I don't think we've sort of stepped off very far away from the precipice.
Now, Trump posted on social media that these talks will continue between the European Commissioner for the Economy, Maros Sefcovic, who is the EU's chief tariff negotiator, as well as the US Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick. They did have a phone call on Monday, and we're expecting to hear the outcomes of that chat, as well as how they can move the dial forward in terms of hopefully finding an end to this trade disputes. Angela Scugins from Brussels for TVP World.
After a heated election campaign, Monday saw Nicușor Dan sworn in as the President of Romania. As Dan takes office, some of the major challenges for him to address will involve navigating Romania's particular economic situation and forming a stable government. Is Dan going to be successful in reinstating his nation's trust in democracy while pushing the country forward? Zuzanna Jurek went on a search for more answers.
Though Nicușor Dan sported a smile during his swearing-in ceremony on Monday, the newly inaugurated Romanian president is set to face more stormy weather as he takes the helm of the country. His presidency comes at a critical juncture for the Western Balkans country's economy.
We are facing a huge deficit. We have a lot of problems in order to attract the European PNRR and European cohesion funds.
Forming a stable government is also poised to be an issue. Following the victory of George Simion in the first round of the presidential elections on May 5th, Prime Minister Marcel Ciucă resigned, and the ruling coalition of Social Democrats, the National Liberal Party, and the Hungarian Minority Party, the UDMR, collapsed with him. It will also be up to President Dan to nominate the next Prime Minister, no small feat in the context of little inner-party consensus.
One thing is certain, the future government must have support, and the PSD will offer this support for rational solutions. I believe that a minority government would not be able to effectively manage the country's affairs.
Forming a government is one thing, but restoring the faith of Romanian population in the democratic system is another. Political turmoil ensued following the annulment of the first presidential election of November 2024, when the victory of Călin Georgescu, another far-right candidate, was invalidated on suspicion of campaign irregularities and voting interferences. The validity of Dan's win is now being doubted too. This time it's his runoff opponent, George Simion.
We will challenge Nicușor Dan's election in the Constitutional Court for exactly the same reasons that they cancelled the December elections. International observers saw interference not only from the Republic of Moldova, but also from the French state. Social media was manipulated and algorithms were used to influence Romanian citizens.
And Simion shows no signs of slowing down. As recently as May 22nd, he insisted an early election be called. Experts suggest that with Simion's determination, finding grounds for a dialogue with his electorate will therefore be no easy task either.
Now they are pretty much radicalized. If you saw a part of them that just destroyed their official Romanian documents as passport or identity cards in order to protest against what they are calling the theft of the election.
But Dan himself looks determined to inspire popular change.
I invite you to continue to be involved with all the social force you have demonstrated to put positive pressure on the institutions of the Romanian state so that they reform.
The expectations of him are reciprocally high.
People have big expectations, really, because Nicușor Dan also, he portrays himself as a big reformer. If he really is, we will see in the coming months, or maybe even weeks.
And as Dan settles into the presidential palace, Romanians await the needed reforms. For TVP World, Zuzanna Jurek.
As Poland is now only 6 days away from choosing its new president, presidential candidate Karol Nawrocki warned he is going to sue domestic media company Onet. It comes after the outlet published an investigative article revealing Nawrocki's alleged involvement in managing a network of sex workers in his days as a hotel security worker. More on this latest development in a report by John Todd.
Opposition Conservative Law and Justice presidential candidate Karol Nawrocki has taken to X to deny media reports he helped procure prostitutes for guests while working at a hotel, saying,
"The problem in Poland today is political prostitution by those who would sell out Poland for foreign money. I intend to file a civil defamation suit against Onet for publishing this pack of lies and pursue private litigation. Tusk and Trzaskowski's media henchmen won't rob us of our victory."
The Onet PL site spoke to two former associates who claimed Nawrocki helped bring prostitutes for guests at the Grand Hotel in Sopot when he worked there as a security guard. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk criticised what he called Nawrocki's dangerous liaisons.
These recurring reports of the candidate's disturbing relationships with the criminal underworld are causing quite a stir worldwide. It's a serious matter and has ultimately little to do with local politics or the election, but weighs heavily on Poland's reputation.
It's not the first controversy to hit Nawrocki on the campaign trail. Less than a week ago, it emerged that he took part in an organised large-scale football hooligan fight in 2009. And in early May, he faced scrutiny over acquiring a flat from an elderly neighbour and using a museum apartment for free. Nawrocki is running neck and neck with the ruling Civic Coalition candidate in Poland's presidential race, Rafał Trzaskowski. The runoff round in the high-stakes election to become Poland's next president takes place on Sunday, June 1st.
This one is for the history books. Poland's Robert Lewandowski has passed the mark of 100 goals scored for FC Barcelona, making him the second player in the world after Cristiano Ronaldo to reach this goal for 3 different teams from the top 5 European leagues. Natalia Oriol reports.
2 goals by Robert Lewandowski against Athletic Bilbao not only helped wrap up FC Barcelona's season in style, but also equaled an impressive entry for the record books. 3 seasons at the Catalan club were enough for the popular Levy to cross the magic 100 goals barrier, ranking him as the 18th top scorer in the club's history.
Actually, he's only 29 goals short of something that would put him in 5th place. So, I mean, when you consider that he's just completed his 3rd season, I mean, that's a phenomenal strike rate. You think about a lot of the other players in the contenders there. They'd been there for 5, 6, 7, even more years. So his strike rate is absolutely phenomenal. And I think we have just become used to how incredible his scoring feats are. He's normalised brilliance.
But the cherry on top of his statistics was another personal milestone.
He is now he's with Cristiano Ronaldo as only the second player ever to have reached 100 goals with 3 different European clubs. And so that in itself is a wonderful achievement because it just shows that no matter which league he goes to play in, which team he plays in, which style of play they adopt, he's capable of adapting and just consistently scoring at an incredibly high rate.
Lewandowski first put on the Barcelona jersey in 2022, scoring 33 goals during his debut season. The next year, he added another 26 goals to the tally. Year 3 brought 42 more well-aimed strikes by Lewandowski. During his stint in Borussia Dortmund, where he played between 2010 and 2014, Levy put the ball in the net 103 times, while 8 seasons at Bayern Munich saw him score 344 times. Next season, provided he does not leave the club, Robert Lewandowski will put on the Barcelona jersey again and aim to add even more goals to his impressive tally. This report for TVP World by Natalia Oriol.
If you have a Polish mother and somehow you forgot, May 26th marks Mother's Day in Poland. So this is your reminder to wish yours a very happy Mother's Day. This beautiful day is an opportunity to celebrate our beloved moms and thank them for the love and care they've shown over the years. Anastasia Yanchenko reports.
Mother's Day is a special occasion for most. It's a moment when even the most grown-up adults turn into children again. Poland is the only country in the world that celebrates Mother's Day on May 26th, while most other countries mark the holiday on the second Sunday of the month. But motherhood comes with its own share of challenges.
The Polish mother is this cult figure who holds everything together: the family, social life, friends, and work. And it's a huge expectation, to be honest, and the pressure on Polish women, on Polish mothers, hence is tremendous.
According to the data shared with TVP World by Dorota Haller of the International Advertising Association of Poland, out of 17,000 Polish moms surveyed, 77% feel tired, 76% stressed, and 79% feel guilty because they can't manage all the roles society expects from them. Despite being active participants in the workforce, many women are still expected to perform all traditional household duties. That balance can be very exhausting.
Polish mothers expect, or need, to be honest, time for themselves and partnership, and not only from home, but from work. There is a need of more flexible workplace, for women, for them to be able to be mothers.
In response, more and more motherhood centers are being opened in Poland. These are spaces where both young and experienced moms can spend time for themselves, recover, and unwind. They can do yoga, exercise, and drink coffee, while their kids make new friends under the supervision of caretakers.
Not on the phone, not in front of the TV, but either out in the fresh air or in spaces specifically designed for that purpose, ones that don't overstimulate.
Experts say many mothers are fearful of not coping, drowning in routine, and not meeting society's expectations.
Usually, children have both parents, and families are a man and a woman. And men are not asked these questions because societal norms are that it's on women to take care of children.
Meanwhile, the number of births in Poland is falling fast. Just over 236,000 babies were born last year, almost half the number from 7 years ago. And still, despite all the challenges, Polish moms somehow manage to do the impossible: work, care, home, love, all with incredible strength and warmth. This ability to be everything for everyone is truly inspiring. This report for TVP World, I'm Anastasia Yanchenko.
In a development that marks a major change of attitude, Donald Trump called Vladimir Putin crazy, and so a major question that comes to mind is, are we observing a deterioration of the U.S.-Russia relationship? Meanwhile, U.S. President decided to delay tariffs on the EU until June 9th. Is this a sign of a shift between the EU and the U.S.? It is my pleasure to welcome to the program Kira Rudik, Ukrainian MP from the Voice Party. Good evening, Kira. Thank you so much for joining. It's great to have you back in the studio.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure's all mine. So we saw Mr. Trump write, "What the hell happened to him? He's killing a lot of people." He later called Putin absolutely crazy. Is this the sort of a post you expected from Donald Trump anytime soon? And actually, what took him so long to realize?
The good question is if this post will last, right? We have seen President Trump to switch his opinion on many matters really quickly. So I would say we may be cautiously optimistic, and we should be looking again, not at the words, but at the actions. And we hope that this permission that Mr. Merz has announced, an ability for Ukraine to launch wide-range weapons inside Russia's territory, is something that is under permission of President Trump and is something that will help us moving forward.
So considering those relentless attacks, I mean, we've heard from Oz Chatterjee, we've seen what's happening, a record-drawn assault on Ukraine. Do you think that Trump is now going to take a firmer stance on helping Ukraine? And actually, it seems like the Western leaders have already taken another step in that direction. But what about Donald Trump and the U.S. administration?
The hopes here on the ground are that President Trump will deliver on his promise, peace through strength, right? Beforehand, we have seen everything but that. And this illusion that Putin wants peace, it was born in the White House after the new administration came in. I don't think there is anyone else in the democratic world who can bring up this idea that Russia wants peace, because look, when aggressor wants peace, they will just stop attacking us, right? So right now, we hope that given that President Trump really doesn't look good, both for his own citizens and people who elected him, and then for European leaders, for world leaders, he looks really weak, and like Putin is making fun of him, because basically he's telling President Trump one thing and then doing completely the opposite. And even after the discussions that President Trump had with Putin over the phone, and he thought that it went very well and announced like something good, it ended up with nothing, showing that Putin only understands one language, the language of force. Now is the time for President Trump to show Putin some strength and show him some force.
Well, it seems to be the case that Donald Trump actually does not strike me as a man who likes to be made fun of. So the question is, you mentioned the word illusion of wanting peace. Knowing what we know now and seeing this response, how do you think the U.S. could potentially force Russia into ceasefire?
The steps are actually not new and very simple. The first thing is the sanctions. And we know that in Senate, there is already a bill registered that would impose 500% secondary sanctions on everyone trading with Russia. Second, there are additional packages of sanctions that are being prepared that would hit Russia economically and hit their ability to overpass sanctions. Third point where they can move forward is to pressure European allies into confiscating Russian assets. We are talking about 300 billion, and we know for sure by Putin's reactions that it will be very painful for him to forfeit this amount of money. And fourth, probably the most important part that Ukraine is expecting is providing us enough of the military support so we would be able to defend ourselves, and for Russia to know that any further attack will be taken down by us, and that it will not mean anything, and he shouldn't be even trying. These are the steps. Again, they're not new, but we need a political courage to go ahead with them.
Political courage is definitely one of the elements that would have to appear on the horizon for these things to take place. But Trump said that he would pause his threatened 50% tariffs on the European Union until July 9th, after what he called a very nice call with EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen. Do you think that this is a sign of this relationship between the US and the EU somewhat improving? And by extension, how do you think this is going to affect Ukraine?
First, I don't think, if you ask me right now, I will able to tell you where did the sanctions that President Trump promised, where they took effect, where they were postponed, where they were taken back, and where they are under the negotiation. And I think it's a very good riddle to everyone who is looking closely at the geopolitics, because we have heard so many different things about everything, and we just know that after President Trump announces sanctions or tariffs, he is usually ready to negotiate them. And it's just a part of his strategy. I think there would be one thing that is not changing between the United States and Europe. It is the goal for Europe to pay for its own defense, and for the United States take less of a burden of these expenses. It will take time, but at least we hope that Europe will take this responsibility and move ahead with the increasing the expenses for defense, building factories, setting up the necessary facilities to say that Europe is the equal partner with the United States in terms of defense. This is very important and can influence the parity in which European countries and European leaders can be talking to President Trump, not even showing the results, but perhaps showing the process that intensifies and showing the intention to be more independent and take more responsibility on the security matter. In terms of tariffs, of course, Ukraine right now is in the situation when we are not interested for our allies to have tariffs between themselves and to concentrate on that rather than hitting adversary countries as China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia with sanctions, tariffs, and decreasing ability to trade for them. I think President Trump is looking for enemies where there are no enemies. There are partners. They may be very good and maybe not so good for him, but they are definitely partners in whatever is happening to the democratic world. So I do hope that gets resolved, and President Trump will be able to celebrate one more win, and Europe will say that we heard your threats and we take them very seriously.
Well, let's hope it's going to come to that, and U.S. will actually focus a package of tariffs and sanctions on places where it's supposed to. Kira, thank you so much for joining. Kira Rudik, Ukrainian MP from the Voice Party, was my guest tonight.
Thank you.
And so this would be all here on World News Tonight, but please do stay tuned. We're back in just a moment with more news and features for you to enjoy, and we'll see you there.